Greetings, legends. Welcome back to the Australian Bulletin. You know what's more predictable than Melbourne's weather forecast? Pauline Hanson weighing in on immigration. And before you roll your eyes so hard they nearly pop out, hear me out, because her latest comments go beyond the usual political theatrics. This time, the One Nation leader has brought numbers, bold claims, and love her or loathe her, Pauline knows exactly how to stir the pot like she's cooking up the most controversial risotto ever made. Hanson is back in the headlines, urging the government to pull back on immigration levels. Now, let's be honest. Pauline Hanson talking about immigration is about as certain as me swearing off coffee at 3 p.m. It's inevitable, and usually someone regrets it later. But here's what stood out. She insists she isn't anti-immigration. I know, I nearly choked on my flat white, too. Let's unpack this. Because Australian politics in 2025 often feels like a soap opera where the actors forget their lines but keep performing anyway. Hanson has revived a familiar argument that surging immigration is damaging the living standards of everyday Australians. Not exactly a groundbreaking observation. It's been bouncing around political circles longer than a meat pie at a footy game. But this time, her target is the Albanese government. She claims they promised to scale back immigration, yet delivered as little follow-through as a New Year's resolution to hit the gym. Here's where it gets interesting. Hanson isn't just complaining about numbers. She's looking at the bigger picture. She accuses Labour of engaging in what she calls strategic citizenship grants. Her logic? Hand out citizenship under your administration, and come election time, those new voters will remember who opened the door. Think of it as political loyalty points, except instead of free coffee, you're banking votes. Now, let's dig into the numbers, because this is where the debate heats up. Australia's immigration intake has been running at levels that would make a nightclub bouncer nervous. Hundreds of thousands annually. And that's not even counting temporary visa holders who linger like the mate who promised to crash on your couch just for a week. Meanwhile, the housing crisis is no secret, unless you've been living under a rock. And even then, that rock probably costs $800 a week in rent. More people competing for the same homes drives prices sky high. It's supply and demand 101. Yet politicians act shocked when pointing this out doesn't make them the life of the dinner party. But Hanson insists she's not against immigration itself, only against unsustainably high levels that strain everything from housing to infrastructure. It's like saying you're not anti-pizza. You just think eating 17 pizzas for breakfast is a bad idea. The distinction matters, even if it sounds like rhetorical gymnastics. Her sharpest criticism lands on Labour's broken promises. Remember when Albanese was campaigning? Immigration would be reduced, housing affordability would improve, and life would be rosy. Fast forward today, and immigration is at record highs while rents are shooting up like a SpaceX rocket. Labour's response? Talking points about skill migration, economic growth, and humanitarian obligations. All legitimate, sure, but they tend to skip over the small detail that they specifically promise cuts. It's like pledging to go on a diet while ordering seconds on dessert. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Talking about immigration policy doesn't automatically make someone racist. Despite what Twitter might suggest, it's entirely possible to value immigration, while also questioning whether current levels are sustainable. A shocking revelation, I know. And Hanson's theory about citizenship and voting loyalty? It's not entirely far-fetched. Political parties absolutely think about long-term electoral consequences. Labour knows new citizens under their watch might vote accordingly, just as the Liberals know their base responds to tougher immigration stances. But here's the reality check. Australia needs immigration. Our system is more complex than trying to assemble IKEA furniture blindfolded. We got skilled migration, humanitarian visas, family reunification, working holidays, international students moving to permanent residency, and about 40 other categories that could give a tax lawyer a migraine. The skilled migration issue is especially thorny. Businesses demand more workers, while housing advocates warn of overcrowding. It's like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube where every move fixes one side, but scrambles two others. Politically, this is fascinating. Hanson casts herself as the voice of working-class Australians who feel abandoned by both major parties. Labor is stuck between their traditional base and economic pragmatism, while the Liberals wrestle with whether to lean harder right or stay centrist. Ordinary Australians, meanwhile, are left paying soaring rents, competing for jobs, and watching politicians bicker over numbers while their quality of life quietly deflates like a punctured balloon. Infrastructure only adds fuel to the fire. Sydney's roads can't handle the current population. Melbourne's trains are crammed like sardine tins. And good luck trying to see a GP without waiting weeks. Adding hundreds of thousands more people each year is like squeezing into jeans from high school. You might manage, but no one's going to be comfortable. What's truly frustrating is the absence of honest conversation about trade-offs. Immigration boosts growth, but also stretches services. It fills skill gaps, but it can suppress wages in certain sectors. It enriches culture, but it strains housing and infrastructure. Politicians present it as either wholly good or wholly bad, when the truth is messier than a toddler with finger paints. We need nuance, not slogans crafted for election campaigns. Hanson's comments underscore a deeper problem: the chasm between political promises and outcomes. Labor pledged to cut immigration, yet presides over historic highs. That's not conspiracy, it's fact, and it's part of a wider global debate. Nations everywhere are asking, how much immigration is too much? How do you balance economic needs with social cohesion? How do you sustain public support when people feel their standard of living is slipping? The most frustrating part? We could have rational discussions about optimal levels without it devolving into a cultural battlefield. But in Australian politics, nuance is often the first casualty. Everything becomes a tribal loyalty test. So where does this leave us? Hanson demands cuts. Labor insists all is fine while numbers soar, and everyday Australians watch their paychecks vanish into rent while leaders argue over definitions. The answer isn't shutting immigration off. That would cripple the economy. Nor is it pretending the current pace isn't causing strain. Maybe, just maybe, we could try something revolutionary. Evidence-based policy. I know, wild thought. What we need is leadership willing to acknowledge trade-offs, explain decisions honestly, and actually follow through. Instead, we get performances tailored to political bases, while real issues rot on the sidelines. Here's the bottom line. Whether you see Hanson as a truth-teller or a troublemaker, she's shining a light on something undeniable. The current system isn't working for many Australians. Ignoring that reality won't make it vanish. We need leaders willing to tackle immigration, infrastructure, and our long-term vision for the nation with honesty and courage. Until then, expect more of the same tired debates while problems worsen. And that's today's dose of political reality from Australian Report. What do you make of Hanson's comments? Are immigration numbers genuinely unsustainable, or is this just political posturing? Drop your thoughts in the comments, but keep it civil. We're all adults here. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, because Australian politics never fails to serve fresh drama, and someone has to help make sense of it. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next daily breakdown of whatever chaos unfolds tomorrow. Until the next inevitable political flare-up, this has been Australian Bulletin, keeping you informed, entertained, and occasionally bewildered by the wild ride that is Australian politics. Cheers.